Mr. Russell, Mr. De Lorenzo, can you come up here, please, too? Stay there, Carl. I'm going to ask you a question. Right there. Nope, you right here. You're on center mic.
Okay.
How long have you been with the city?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. How did we get to this place that we're in? How did we get here?
It's like you guys had mentioned, you're forecasting the future, and we don't know what the future holds.
Well, let me scope it down a little bit. Let me get a little bit more granular. How do we get to a point where we have approved 19,000 houses, 19,000 units, right? That's what's in the queue. We've got 19,000 residential houses or whatever units in the queue above our existing levels now. How do we approve those houses when we don't have the capabilities? Don't take my picture anymore, Brian. When we don't have the capability to sustain what we have now. Can one of you three gentlemen explain that to me and the residents of Palm Coast?
I can speak to it partially. You know, when ITT developed the city, they platted 45,000 lots. They had a 300,000-gallon wastewater plant. You can't have a system for your ultimate build-out of your homes. You know, you have the 19,000 lots, but are they going to be built on in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Look at Town Center. It was platted and developed in, 2004 or 5? How much of it's built out?
How many houses, how many units do we have in the city of Palm Coast right now? How many houses do we have in the city?
Housing units?
Housing units, apartments, total, the whole kit and caboodle. How many units do we have?
40,000?
Between 40 and 45, right?
Yeah,
I guess 60,000 service connections, 60,000.
How many houses do we serve? I'm sorry, let's add that in there too. Let's go with the houses we service, meaning on the barrier island and whatever. That's not, okay. Councilman Miller said that's not fair. Okay, just
have any control over that
in
planning.
our city boundaries, how many housing units total do we have in stock right now?
I think it's around 40,000, but I don't know the number exactly, sir.
40.
Okay, so we have all these facilities, and you said the original design was the one wastewater treatment plant was designed not to sustain the 40,000 houses.
Right, you
initially.
can't build the infrastructure to handle the ultimate build-out capacity because it won't function.
So
And
right
when you
now-
don't have the dollars to put that in place up front. I mean, that's just like our PEP system. You know, even this PEP system the ITT put in the ground cannot service all the PEP tank lots. So we're going back in as those PEP tank lots are being built on, and we have to put in parallel PEP mains to handle the flow from those PEP tank lots. Because if they size the pipe large enough, the flow wouldn't work.
To the point is,
We have three plants, right? Water production, 2 wastewater, right?
Yes.
So we have grown that much, and we still can't even service the units we have now. We have grown that much in water treatment. We've added another wastewater. We've added 2 more water production plants, and we can't even service the how many houses? Roughly 60,000?
Well,
So you see where I'm,
We're
can you see where I'm going? I don't think I'm insane.
But-
I do see it, right? Do you guys see what I
I
see?
understand what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, but fundamentally, this happens everywhere. You don't build infrastructure in advance of potential hookups because then the users of that system at the time are paying for future users. So do you want to pay for the next 20,000 people that might live here? I don't think so.
Councilman Miller, but we are unique because
We are not unique. This is happening all over the state.
No, and our uniqueness is we have some of the highest utility rates in the state. And I would assume not just in the state, but in the country. If it's highest in our state, which is what, the 3rd largest state in the union, we have some of the highest utility rates in the state. Name another city in the state that has higher city utility rates than us.
Flagler Beach.
We've been presented with
They
that
don't
information.
count. They're small potatoes.
Well, we did compare in the chart that Murray presented to Charlotte
Yeah.
County that is similar to us because they have a high amount of PEP tanks. So when I went through my original presentation on what sets our utility part different than others, PEP tanks, high maintenance, 24/7 PEP calls, lots of service, replacements, costly system.
I get it.
Our water source, hard water this region of Florida. We can't just pull water out of the river or lake or out of the ground and barely need to treat it and aerate it and use the water. We have a very extensive chemical treatment process for our water. It costs us a lot more. JEA costs them very minimal to treat their water and serve the public. For us, we don't have that benefit here. Our water is very costly to treat.
Okay, I get that, but still, we're in quite a situation.
I agree. We are in a situation. Yeah.
Mayor,
No.
So-
Mr. Russell, can you Mr. Del Lorenzo, pull up this slide here? The one with the different projects on it? The one that's got
That's Murray's
wastewater
presentation.
treatment plant?
Murray's presentation.
Number 44 of whatever that slide deck was.
I think that's the March, is that the March 4th?
That's from the March 4th meeting.
thank you.
I'm
And
sorry.
just for the record, in our last growth report, there's 43,394 occupied lots.
That's how many houses, occupied units we have in the city now.
Yes, sir.
Carl, which one of these is yours and which one is
This one
Murray's?
is his. It'd be that one.
So if I can, just for the last few years, what I've seen, and then what I've looked at in looking at prior presentations, I said from here, 2018, in my opinion, wastewater treatment plant 1, how that was not included in the rate study is beyond me, but that wasn't Carl, okay? Carl was brought in, around 2022 to start managing the utility
22,
fund?
23, yes.
Okay, so let's be fair, okay, to the staff that is sitting here before us versus the staff that, in my opinion, grossly mishandled capital projects back in 2018. Because how you don't include the wastewater treatment plant that services the infill lots, which is where we know we have the most building, is beyond comprehension to me. So we're all kind of having to deal with this. I will just tell you guys, you will get a no from me for all four. It was closer to 500 million, not 600 million. I apologize, I misspoke earlier. You will get a no from me to fund all $500 million. So I don't know where everybody else sits, but unless we can lessen this somehow and get there to where the residents are not feeling such a strong impact from mistakes that were made 6 years ago, I'm a no. But please, sorry, you had a question about this.
No, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor. That's why we're here. That's why I love these workshops. We get to work on this as a team. So,
Mayor, is that the slide you were looking for?
that's the slide I was looking for. And I wanted to go back to Ms. Long's comment, or her, I listen to you and Toby, because you keep me up to date. I don't like some of the stuff you say, but I was a hero on Saturday, but now I'm a villain. Just so you know. But like you said in your show, you said impact fees can't go to rehabilitation and renovation, correct? Okay. And Mr. Tobin said, who's flushing the toilets? Here's the answer to Mr. Tobin. We're flushing the toilets. But we as a city collectively aren't wealthy enough to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to fix the toilets, only to add another 38,000 toilets to our home. If you take that 19,000 houses or units that are in the queue, multiply it by two, you get 38,000. See, that's our perspective, and that's the way I see it. I'm a simple man, but that's the way I see it. So anyway, let's get back to this, Mr. Russell. Okay, can you highlight anything on there? Can you highlight?
Let me try.
You can take it out of the.
Presentation, no problem.
You can take it out of there if you need to. I don't really care, as long as we have it up on the screen. Make it large and where you can highlight. Okay. So what's the fix on there, Mr. Russell, that we have, give me the top 3 things we have to fix on there that get out of the consent decree from the state. Highlight
Hey,
them.
Mr. Mayor, can I jump in real quick?
Yes,
So,
yes, Mr. Gambaro.
so I would highlight everything that says wastewater treatment plant number 1, and then to include the PEP system upgrades. And oh, by the way, the storage tanks, which is a priority of ours for our legislative, lobbying agenda, those things are critical because they help with the overflow during the high water events. It gives the plants capacity to process, so you don't have stuff backing up into your into your showers, right? And so and coming out of your toilets. And I would say concurrently, we've got to expand our second wastewater treatment plant because we've got to. I mean, that's planning for the future if we want to, move forward with Project Magellan or whatever else the case may be. So these are things, and then anything else that is that has us in hot water with the Department of Environmental Protection is, I think, a good starting point.
And
I
I don't want to interrupt, but, the consent decree is just one piece. I just want to go back to when we go to get that bond, our engineer needs to certify that we are providing and maintaining our system adequately. So, yes, those projects are in there. Now, we talked about the wastewater treatment plant 1 conversion, existing conversion, $90 million facility. Can we push that off? Yes. It's not a mandated conversion mandate yet. What are the implications of doing that? We'll have basically 2 wastewater plants on one site because they're going to have 2 different operation systems that are going to run independently of one another. Is that an issue? Not necessarily. Is it going to be more costly to do in the future? Most likely. Can we push it off? Yes. So there's, a big ticket item on that second bond we can push out. We had brackish well expansion in there. We're at a cup limitation now with the district on freshwater uptake. So we do need to push along on brackish wells. Will they let us modify our cup permit for additional freshwater wells? Possibly, as long as we have in our plan that we are proceeding with our brackish wells in expansion for the plant. So we would still need to keep our monitoring wells in there, our design in there. Would they be comfortable if it's outside the 5-year window to do the brackish wells? That's an unknown. That's something, we'd have to address as we work through the process and permitting and going through with the district. So those are particular projects that could be pushed out. We could do half of the expansion for freshwater at Plant 3 to help with our current needs. The brackish wells and brackish expansion could be pushed out beyond the 5 years and off that second bond, potentially, because we did have talks with our consultant that does our capacity analysis, because we want to make sure they're comfortable with signing off on the letter when we go to the bond that we have a sound plan. Yeah. So those are 2 particular big ticket items that we could adjust in the plan. Now, if growth happens more than what we're projecting, we are going to have to come back and ask for that second bond. Yeah. But if we're on target and we can raise impact fees again in the next time around, and maybe impact fees are going to cover those costs of the projects as we can stagger them in over time. So I just want to be cautious of that about, trying to design and pick projects on the spot here. There's more to it.
Well, we're just trying to lay a framework, Carl. We're not trying to make any, snap decisions tonight. Well, I think we've already made enough, or lack thereof, decisions. But I would agree with you, Councilman Gambaro. That storage tank is up there on my to-do list too, because even with the flows, can you convert from one to the other? If we need to at any time in the city, if something happened and we were being inundated like we were during Milton, can we shift the flows to that major tank once we get it done? How many gallons is that one?
Yes, Mayor. I mean, I think even just with the rain we had yesterday, we would have used that EQ tank if we had it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't remember.
That's what I'm saying as far as shifting the flows. How many gallon tank is that we've asked for?
6 million.
6 million gallons.
So can I just try and help through this, right? So where needing some direction on anything, any type of analysis that you want to be ran for next week's hearing, because we do have a consultant that needs to put this together, so.
You got 2 weeks, right?
No, it's, yeah. We try and finalize the agenda packet tomorrow, so we're definitely on a time crunch. Staff is really concerned about, delaying some projects. Carl mentioned projects, yes, they can be delayed, but, respectively, we're trying to not put ourselves in the same position that you see ourselves from 2018. So when we're being cautious about which projects move forward or not, we want to remind, City Council and the public that we have no guarantees for any of this. There's no certainties that rates won't go up after the 2028 study. We're going to look at impact fees, but we have to look at all of it again. We as staff can put together a proposal of trying to reduce the impact. Now, all of it is, all delays have uncertainties and have risks, right? So Carl mentioned delaying the wastewater treatment plant 1 conversion out to the 6 to 10 year. That will require a future bond, but the impact is it could be higher on construction costs and having 2 treatment plants on the same site. And it's not an increase in efficiency, which we talk about often. So, we also have to look at making sure, as Carl mentioned, it's a complete system so that not only are we moving forward with wastewater projects, but we're also identifying crucial water projects and water needs so that we're not in the same position in the water side. We've already met the 80% threshold that we should be planning for water expansion projects. So just want to be really cautious there that we do move forward on the water side at one of our oldest water facilities, which is Water Treatment Plant 1, and it has a special treatment process for cleaning the water. So if you would like, what I hear from City Council is that you want us to look at Bond 1, what are the key projects for the system, and come back to you next week with those key projects and the why. Is that helpful? Is that summarizing it?
As city manager, from my perspective, it's very helpful. And the other item I wanted just to really, really emphasize, right? So as a small business owner, Mr. Mayor, you and I both know, right, that if I want to get a small business administration loan, right, for let's say $10 million, you better have hundreds of thousands of net revenue coming in to be able to cover, servicing that mortgage. So in our case, I think what the consultant laid out for us is exactly the revenue flow that we need to be able to cover the bonds required up front, because towards the end, as the vice mayor pointed out last week, some of that will be covered in impact fees. And so, or hopefully we get some federal funding. But in any case, the revenue has to be there in order for us to qualify for a bond to tackle any of these projects. And if we start to degrade that ability to do that, we won't be bond worthy to get some of these things done. So I just offer that for consideration. Over.
Yeah, this is a gut punch to our community, and the vice mayor knows it. She's been sitting in that chair for a minute, and the whole uproar about the moratorium. Think about what I said about, and we're pushing this on. We're pushing this on our residents. It's just keep pushing it. Just keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. And it's really, it's quite sad that we are in this state. But if we're going to keep paying like that, we need to slow down the development, the home building. Because, like I said, just like my statement said, why would we collectively pay millions and millions of dollars for additional toilets when we don't need them? It's crazy. We're over, the developers are overwhelming the system. We have too many houses coming in. We've already established that mistakes were made. At least 19,000 houses that was a big mistake of approving those. Was there anybody sitting in staff positions saying, look, sir, ma'am, mayor, council, you can't do that. We don't have the capability to service those units.
I did. I mean, there were plenty of times in the last 2 years, when there were applications in front of us for zoning variances, for density increases, and I was raising the flag over and over and over, and specifically because of water. So yes, to answer your question, and I think now finally we have a council that recognizes that this is an issue. So unfortunately, here we are.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, go ahead.
Yeah, so pushback on the 19,000 is that a lot of that stuff is land use, right? It's not something that we can say no to legally. 100% agree with variances and changes to density. That's where I agree with those issues, especially when we're converting something direly needed, commercial and industrial, to residential. So, 7,500 of that 19,000 is still ITT platted lots, so that was done 50 years ago. Some of the rest is zoning that was pre-existing Palm Coast, that was adopted by Palm Coast as it incorporated. So some of what we're talking about has nothing to do with this city and this council and the design, who has been managing this city for years since then. And what I can say is that in terms of that land use, that's something that we haven't had control of since the inception of Palm Coast, because it pre-existed our existence, right? So if it existed there, we were legally required to maintain those same entitlements as we incorporated. The only time it changed is when the city actually worked with a landowner and said, hey, would you be okay with it being commercial here or not, right? And making those changes. And that was worked on, way back when. And so what I'm trying to get to is that we're kind of defined by something that was written or platted many, many years ago before we even existed. So I just want to push back a little bit that it's this big systemic thing that people have been taking advantage of the residents. It pre-existed the city, right? And so I fully agree with the conversation that we shouldn't be adding density to that same problem that pre-existed. We shouldn't be converting or flipping things to residential because, obviously if we're behind, adding more to the front end of that to try to catch up to is difficult. So I'm committed to trying to make this work and figure it out. I think this is critical to Palm Coast. And, we're talking about removing water treatment facility number 1 from some of the priority projects. And part of the conversations that I've had with people about this entire project is, specifically that and the aesthetic quality of that water and how we're going to make it better. And people say, well, if my water from this facility looks and tastes better, then I'm all on board with paying $30 extra a month. And so now we're removing that. So now I have to tell those people that, in fact, you will not be getting better water. At least not in the short term. I know that we're trying to figure it out. Hopefully we can come to some sort of resolution that I think makes everybody happy. I'm committed to that, so.
Yeah, we have 106,000 residents? What are we at now?
7.
Okay, right there in the center.
That was as the census?
No, that was our last,
It's the community survey.
yeah.
Yeah, so 107,000 residents. We need to be looking out for every one of them to the best ability, seeing how many people can be serviced the best by our decisions. And that includes people in this room on both sides, residents, builders, developers, tradesmen, retirees, kids, all of the above. So what is the decision that we can make that best services all of the widest swath of people? And I don't think that it's the bookends. It's always somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
So if we can get to somewhere in the middle and keep this train on the right path to getting that economic development in, I think that we're just on the precipice of really seeing our city change in a good way and seeing that tax base diversify. We just got to get over this right now.
So you have enough direction, city manager?
Yeah, let me just confirm,
Okay.
please, Mayor, is that this is on your agenda for next week because it was noticed on every single utility bill, so we do need to have it. But we will run an analysis to move forward with the first bond, identifying key projects for the system. And we will bring that back to you on the 18th.
I hate to do extra work, but, you know, that's a lot of money, and it's a lot of pressure on our residents. You know, new people coming in, it might not be so bad, but for Margie Lee, that's living off Social Security, it's a big deal, you know, and I don't want to be a villain. I don't want to be a villain to the developers. I want business in here. God knows we need, Tony, you need to get on the phone and call your buddies and tell them to bring their businesses here, manufacturing businesses. That's what we need here. We can't sustain on a 90-10 split and expect to keep pushing it on the residents. It's not sustainable. It is not sustainable. And we got one or two ways. We either fix it and have the developers stop building so many houses, putting them in the system, or we're shut down by a consent decree from the state with heavy fines. So,
Neither is good for business.
no, ma'am, they are not. So are we?
Well, then, Mr. Mayor, then we need to stop using the word moratorium, because that's what's scaring off businesses from coming here.
It ain't scaring off anything, Councilman. I'm sorry.
I disagree.
I'm sorry. It's not. That whole Westwood, I'm not worried about the Westwood expansion. I'm worried about what we have in our house right now and trying to get developers to convert some of the properties that they upzone, the residential, convert it back to industrial so we can market it to bring businesses here for more jobs and higher wages for our community. I don't think, by Mike Norris sitting on the dais and saying, if you guys don't play ball, I'm going to put in a moratorium. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. We do need to slow down. I've been here 20 years. I've watched it. And I struggled in 06, 09. I struggled. There's a reason I went to work in Okinawa. There's a reason I went to become a contractor in Iraq, because I had to make the money to sustain my family. So the pain has been felt before. Nobody's a lone ranger here. This is a joint effort, plain and simple. You got enough, city manager? You good?
Yes, sir.
All right, we don't have to go back to public comment because that's over. We were on our time.
I was just going to ask one thing. So we're comfortable with getting to your point about having kind of an engineering sign off on what we're going to do. We will be able to accomplish that in a short enough
We've had
time
those
span.
discussions already.
You've already started this, okay.
Yes.
Good.
You know, the initial plan we put together was the best planning to put the utility on solid ground and address our aging, outdated infrastructure. This modified plan's obviously going to have some caveats because we can't address everything. So
Yeah, I was just concerned with this, 7 days that,
Yes.
and obviously less than 7 days that the entire math of everything crumbles if they're not willing to sign off for the bonds and those things.
yeah,
So-
we know what they're comfortable with, and
Okay.
I was going to say, I fully believe, Carl, that you know exactly what they're looking for and that you can work with the consultant to get there. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.